Kerry Washington just revealed in her memoir that her dad isn't her biological father.
Say what now?
And the story revolving around this recent discovery is all sorts of cray-cray. Before we jump into this scandal, bust open a bag of beef or bacon jerky, watermelon licorice, and sour gummy bears from rrgsnacks.com, our online concession stand that has thousands of 5-star reviews.
We the best.
Kerry was born in the Bronx on January 31, 1977, to Earl and Valerie Washington. Kerry's birth came 5 years after their wedding day, and she's their one and only child. In her memoir, which we've linked in our description box, Kerry reveals that things just never felt right at home. Although she didn't lack food or clothing, she longed to have a loving and authentic connection with her parents. She felt unhappy and alone. She always wanted to have siblings, but that never happened. She would disappear into the pages of her favorite books and watch movies to escape the loneliness. She told Oprah Winfrey that her family lived in subsidized housing across from the airport, so she would sit and watch the planes fly by, all while fantasizing about traveling to different places. In her imagined travels, she was a completely different person. She was prettier, skinnier, taller, and smarter. She said, "My disease of perfectionism began early, and the myth of I'm not enough only flourished with time." Her mom worked as a professor, and her dad worked in financial services. He also sold real estate and owned a general store that eventually went out of business. In her memoir, Kerry described her dad as having a tough time professionally, and he never reached the level of success that he thought he deserved. Not only that, she admitted he didn't provide well for their family, and he was constantly wasting his money on things he couldn't afford. Kerry and her dad rarely saw eye to eye. They were constantly bumping heads and could never get on the same page. In her memoir, she writes that he felt foreign to her, and she felt trapped by his love and appalled by his desperation to be loved by her. At night, she would frequently hear her parents arguing, yelling, and crying.
That just makes me mad!
I just want Kerry to have a good life.
Shut up!
Oh yeah, and what business are you going to open up next? Shut up! Most of their fights were about money. Her dad didn't make enough money, and her mom didn't have enough ambition. In the morning, they would emerge from their room like nothing happened. Eventually, Kerry started to blame herself for her parents' issues. At one point, she felt like she was the only thing keeping them together. As a teenager, she gravitated towards substances and drinking. Her father began drinking heavily as well and would spend his nights at the local bars. After graduating from high school, Kerry saw her opportunity to leave her dysfunctional household. She enrolled at George Washington University, but she soon realized she couldn't escape from herself. Her need to be perfect was exacerbated by her desire to become an actress. She believed that in order to make it big, she needed to act a certain way and look a certain way. She told Oprah she started over-exercising and under-eating. She stated, "In a profession where rejection happened daily and my fate was always in the hands of others, my body became the one thing that I could control." After graduating from college, she moved to Manhattan and finally attained her dreams of being a big Hollywood actress. After a few terrible relationships, she met NFL player and father of one Nnamdi Asomugha sometime around 2009 or 2010. According to People magazine, in June 2013, Kerry and Nnamdi flew their loved ones out to Hailey, Idaho on a jet for a private wedding ceremony. Although she was excited to tie the knot, there was one thing that was really bothering her. She didn't want her dad to walk her down the aisle.
Ooh, child.
By that point in her life, she didn't think it was appropriate for any man to give her away. But they came up with a compromise. Her dad walked her to a certain point. Kerry stopped and waited as he walked the rest of the way to greet Nnamdi at the altar. After her dad sat down, Kerry walked the rest of the way by herself. They welcomed their first child, a baby girl named Isabel, in April 2014. And their son Caleb was born in October 2016. Then came 2018 when Kerry decided to appear on Finding Your Roots, a PBS series where celebrities learn about their ancestors through DNA testing. When she told her parents about it, they reached out to the program and started questioning what kind of information would be revealed through the DNA testing. They were told that if they had concerns about what would be discovered, it was best for them to discuss it with Kerry ahead of time. So in April 2018, they told Kerry they needed to sit down and have a little chit-chat. Her parents revealed they struggled with infertility for 5 years. And since her mom suffered a stillbirth during her first marriage, they decided to explore other options. According to Kerry's parents, her mom's OBGYN was a specialist in infertility, and Kerry's mom was artificially inseminated with donor sperm in 1976. If her mom suffered a stillbirth with another man, then why didn't they get a surrogate? Why did they assume Kerry's dad was the cause of their infertility issue? You know what? Let me mind my business. Her mom said they didn't know where the sperm came from. All they knew was that the man was black. Artificial insemination dates back to the 1300s, when it was first successfully used by the Arabs to impregnate horses. Unofficial history records claim the first attempt to artificially inseminate a woman was performed by King Henry IV in the 1400s. By the 70s, which was when Kerry was conceived, the first cryobanks opened in the United States and offered frozen sperm from anonymous college students to infertile couples. Although we can't confirm how much the procedure cost back then, we do know that Kerry's parents didn't have a lot of disposable income. And Kerry even stated her dad was brokety broke. So how did they afford the treatment? Well, anyway, according to the New York Times, doctors advised couples to tell no one how they were conceiving, and the paper trail of the insemination process was destroyed. Many of the companies were also concerned about protecting the privacy of the donors. In a 1984 interview, a co-owner of a California cryobank told the New York Times, "After all, what guy who's been paid $25 for his sperm, which is what we pay, wants to take the chance of being confronted 20 years later by 1 or 3 children, each claiming he is their biological father and each wanting love or a loan or something?" Well, damn. Now, we believe Kerry's parents when they say her dad isn't her biological father, but something just ain't right with their story, especially since they claim they used a black donor. As of this video, black sperm donors are nearly non-existent. A black couple told USA Today that when they first started looking for donors in 2020, they filtered the search for black men, and their options dwindled from hundreds of choices to only 2. Black men don't play that shit. DeBrat and her wife Judy experienced the same challenge. They told the Root website that out of 300 prospective donors they were presented with, only 1 of them was black. DeBrat said the man looked like Jiminy Cricket. So they had to settle for a white donor. So if the pickings are slim for black donors these days, what the hell were the options like back in 1976 when Kerry was conceived? Probably worse. Now, you're probably wondering why sperm banks have a shortage of black donors. Well, sperm banks historically have been run by white people who were targeting white donors and white clients. And those clients weren't interested in Tyrone and Marshawn's sperm. Additionally, black people have a history of mistreatment in the medical field, including the 1932 Tuskegee study, which involved the U.S. government denying treatment to hundreds of poor black men who had syphilis so that researchers could study how it affected the human body. Because of that known case and other instances of medical malpractice, racism, and discrimination, some people in the black community rightfully distrust the medical system. This can explain why black men would be hesitant to participate in something such as a sperm donation. So let's just take her parents' word for it. They managed to find a black donor who was willing to give them some of his sticky, icky. Her parents told her they were going to take the secret to their grave, although they thought about writing her a letter that she could read after they passed away. Kerry wasn't upset at them, though. She was actually relieved to know the truth. Her life and the disconnect she felt with her dad started to make a lot more sense. So she went searching for more answers. First, she asked her dad to take a paternity test, and he refused. Then she decided to employ the services of one of those DNA genetic testing companies to locate her biological father, or at least some of his other descendants. But when she got her test back, everything linked back to her mother. There weren't any paternal connections on any of the DNA sites that she used. Not only did her donor never submit his DNA for analysis, but not one person on either side of his family had done so either. So Kerry is essentially fatherless. Now hold up now. We discovered a few reasons why she doesn't have DNA connections on her father's side. The first possible reason is that her biological parents are related to each other. The second reason is if her parents came from the same endogamous community. Endogamy is when a community marries within its defined culture or location for many, many generations, such as the Cajuns in the South. Another reason she might not have connections on her father's side is because none of her dad's descendants have their DNA tests on file, or none of the descendants are alive. Still anxious to get to the bottom of things, Kerry approached her dad one more time about the possibility of him taking a paternity test. He thought about it for a bit until he finally decided he couldn't handle Kerry's attempts to uncover the truth. He told her, "If you take this test, it will kill me. If you tell anyone, it will kill me." With that, Kerry has learned to live with the void of not knowing who her biological father is. In her memoir, she wrote that she has decided to just allow the dad who raised her to be the center of her life story.